have surfaced, but the mainstream media systematically silences, ridicules, or discredits them while endlessly recycling glossy official imagery. Why, one must ask, are these testimonies ignored? Why do we hear only the voices that maintain the myth? According to this former employee, NASA employs entire teams of graphic artists, designers, and digital technicians whose sole function is to manufacture space photographs. They recycle stock imagery, alter footage from old science fiction films, run visuals through filters, adjust colors, add layers of clouds or terrain textures, and present the results as authentic shots from space. This explains why every so-called photo of Earth looks suspiciously similar, with identical color palettes and cloud formations, and why, when pressed, NASA admits that many are composites. And for this, NASA receives over $63 million every single day, more than $22 billion a year from U.S. taxpayers. Not for exploration, not for colonizing the moon or Mars, but for maintaining a cinematic illusion and funding black projects hidden far from public scrutiny. See Chapter 5. As the whistleblower bitterly observed, NASA employees hide various aspects of their work, support any legend, and defend any government lie. Why wouldn't they? Their salaries are enormous, their jobs secure, and they are shielded by one of the most powerful institutions on Earth. Greed, comfort, and fear of losing privileges bind them into silence, making them accomplices in one of the greatest crimes against humanity. The internal structure of NASA is built not for transparency, but for secrecy. Departments are compartmentalized. Each team works only on its small slice of a larger project and is forbidden to ask questions outside its scope. Former employees describe how badge colors determined what level of information a worker could access. Crossing those boundaries meant punishment, career destruction, dismissal, or worse. This is not normal corporate policy. It is the classic architecture of a conspiracy, isolating cogs in the machine so none can see the entire picture. Meanwhile, billions vanish into black projects that officially do not exist but quietly absorb astronomical funding. A former insider explained, NASA gets $60 million a day, but they aren't launching rockets into space. So where does it go? Into black projects. These hidden programs may involve weather manipulation, climate warfare, or even mind control technologies, projects that are never acknowledged publicly but serve the agenda of global control. And then there are the so-called astronauts, or should we call them actors? Carefully trained, heavily scripted, they play the role of brave pioneers in an environment that exists only on green screens and underwater stages. Many spacewalks are filmed in massive water tanks. Moon landings were staged on custom-built film sets, using wire harnesses and special effects. The telltale signs are everywhere. Our bubbles drifting upward in space, flags fluttering in a vacuum, shadows that betray multiple light sources, astronauts moving as though suspended on cables. Their interviews and public appearances often reveal nervous avoidance, glaring contradictions, or visible guilt. Some have even fallen into depression, hardly the reaction of people who supposedly achieved mankind's greatest triumph. The truth is evident. Astronautics is not science. It is theater, a high-budget spectacle designed to reinforce the illusion of a globe Earth spinning in a vast, lifeless cosmos. NASA's true function is not to explore space, but to defend the lie. It is a shield for the paradigm of control, an illusion designed to enslave humanity by hiding the reality of our flat, enclosed world. 1.6. Lies as the foundation of control. Why do we need a spherical Earth? The machinery of enslavement and the concealment of true boundaries. Why are we so relentlessly and systematically lied to across every channel of education, science, and media about the shape of the Earth, about gravity, and about space exploration? The answer runs deeper than distorted data or technological posturing. The purpose of this deception is not merely to protect a fragile theory. It is to construct a prison of the mind, a world where our every decision, every step, every thought is scripted and controlled. It is about ensuring that freedom itself exists only as an illusion, a carefully woven myth designed to mask the chains that bind us. The devaluation of humanity. We are told we are insignificant tiny specks of dust floating in a cold, indifferent, infinite universe. Our very existence, they claim, is the accidental byproduct of a Big Bang followed by blind, random evolution. This narrative strips humanity of meaning, destiny, and purpose. It breeds helplessness, fear, and dependence on the so-called authorities who promise to protect us from imaginary threats, meteorites, cosmic radiation, alien invasions. Instead of questioning what lies beyond the Antarctic barrier or who truly governs our world, we are distracted by phantoms. The result? Entire populations reduced to passive consumers, their lives emptied of vision or direction, concerned only with survival. Concealing the true boundaries of our world, the myth of infinite space and a tiny Earth lost in the void robs us of curiosity. Why seek the edges if we are told there are none? Why look beyond Antarctica if it is just an endless desert of ice? This illusion locks us in a terrarium, a controlled environment where every boundary is enforced and every exploration discouraged. Meanwhile, the possibility of vast new lands, untouched resources, or even unknown civilizations hidden beyond the Antarctic wall remains carefully concealed. By feeding us fantasies of star travel and galaxies billions of light years away, they distract us from the truth that is close, tangible, and forbidden. Control over consciousness. When people accept a false model of the world, they become easy to manipulate. Belief in a spinning globe, in gravity, in empty space filled with imaginary threats shapes not just our worldview but our very psychology. It defines what we fear, what we pursue, and what we consider impossible. And so we are spoon-fed endless tales of asteroids, while the protective properties of the dome above us are hidden, along with the real dangers created by the system itself. The result is obedience, populations conditioned to respect authority, avoid questions, and comply with rules that serve only their masters. Financial exploitation and black projects. The so-called space programs are not about exploration, they are pipelines for unimaginable sums of money. NASA, Roscosmos, ESA. These agencies siphon billions not into rockets, but into maintaining the illusion. Officially, funds vanish into research. In reality, they disappear into hidden projects, classified technologies, psychological warfare, weather manipulation, climate weapons. What could solve poverty, hunger, and disease is instead spent on perpetuating slavery. This is not wasted spending. It is investment in control, reinforcing the pyramid of power. And finally, the lie sustains the existing hierarchy. If they alone possess the truth about the cosmos, if they alone can shield us from supposed dangers, then they appear indispensable, our guardians, our saviors, our rightful rulers. This grants them not only power, but legitimacy. The masses, convinced of their ignorance, surrender willingly to those who know better. Thus, the illusion of a spherical Earth is not about science. It is about control. This is the true reason for the deception. The myth of the globe, of space, of gravity, of falsified history and suppressed technologies, it all exists to conceal one fundamental truth. The Earth is not a spinning sphere. It is enclosed, finite, protected by the great Antarctic barrier, an icy wall behind which may lie other lands, other resources, even other powers that rule in the shadows. And it is these true masters who ensure that humanity never awakens to its prison. 1.7. Consequences of revealing the truth about the shape of the Earth, the collapse of illusions and the dawn of a new era, the inevitable revolution of consciousness and liberation. If the truth about the flat Earth, the space hoax, the fabricated moon landings, the falsehood of gravity, and the reality that we live within a closed system under the dome were ever revealed to the public, the consequences would be catastrophic for the current system and at the same time revolutionary for humanity. This would not be a mere scientific discovery. It would ignite a tidal wave of global awakening, an unstoppable chain reaction that no government or institution could suppress. The collapse of official science and space agencies, every achievement of NASA, Roscosmos, ESA, and similar institutions, every rocket launch, every satellite image, every so-called moon landing would be exposed as nothing more than elaborate theater. Their science would be unmasked as fraud, their museums revealed as stage props for a show. Scientists and officials who defended these lies for decades would face accusations not just of incompetence, but of deliberate deception and even crimes against humanity. Funding for these agencies would collapse overnight, their projects dismantled, their leaders disgraced. One of the great pillars of ideological control, the myth of space, would fall in ruins. The erosion of trust and the fall of governments. If entire governments were caught lying about something as fundamental as the nature of the world we live on, their legitimacy would vanish instantly. The result? Mass uprisings, civil unrest, and revolutions. Citizens would no longer accept being governed by institutions that had deceived them for centuries. Old systems of power would collapse, and with them, the illusion of authority. New, more transparent, and more accountable structures of governance would emerge to replace the rotten order. A spiritual and philosophical earthquake. The exposure of the dome, the true nature of the sun and moon, and the falsity of the cosmic narrative would trigger profound religious and philosophical upheaval. Doctrines built on myths of infinite space and random creation would crumble. Millions would experience an existential crisis, realizing their faith had been built on lies. Yet from this crisis would emerge renewal, the rediscovery of ancient wisdom long suppressed, and the rise of new spiritual paths grounded not in dogma, but in direct observation and truth. Humanity would begin to reconnect with its forgotten heritage, with knowledge that speaks not of emptiness, but of meaning. The awakening of humanity, most importantly, the revelation would spark a mass awakening of consciousness unlike anything in recorded history. People everywhere would begin to ask questions, demand answers, and seek true knowledge beyond official lies. Education, science, politics, economics all would be re-examined under the light of truth. The human being, once reduced to a helpless consumer, would rediscover his role as a creator, capable of shaping reality rather than merely surviving within it. This awakening would unleash the true potential of humanity, a force long suppressed by the chains of deception. New horizons of research and progress. If the Earth is enclosed by a dome and the sun and moon are mechanisms within this system, then the real frontier of science lies not in empty space, but here, in the world we actually inhabit. Instead of wasting trillions on fantasies of Mars or galaxies billions of light years away, humanity could turn its gaze to the dome itself, its structure, its mechanisms, its purpose. Expeditions to Antarctica, the true edge of the world, could reveal new lands, resources, and knowledge beyond imagination. Real breakthroughs in energy, materials, and transportation could follow, discoveries that would transform life on Earth and benefit all of humanity, not just a hidden elite. A revolution of consciousness to reveal the truth about the shape of the Earth is to shatter the foundation of global control. It is to declare that humanity has been living not in a meaningless void, but in a carefully constructed world with boundaries still unexplored. Once we strip away the myths of spinning globes and infinite space, once we look directly at the lights above us without prejudice, we will see the truth, and that truth will set us free. This is not just knowledge, it is the key to a new era. It is a revolution of consciousness, the collapse of centuries of slavery, and the rebirth of humanity's dignity and power. The day the lie dies, a new humanity will be born. Get the full book on Amazon.